your victory is guaranteed. Now, because some of us live a lifestyle of trusting God, we are not surprised when we get the victory. We are never caught off guard when God blesses us, promotes us, sends us better, does for us the good measure, the press, the shaking, and the running. Now, a lot of folk will teach the story of Joseph and will say such things like, be careful who you tell your dreams to. And I agree in part. But I want you to understand that some things are bigger than us. And Joseph was going to have to go to Egypt because that was God's overall plan or purpose for his life. So whenever preachers preaching, they say, well, if Joseph wouldn't have told the dream, his brothers wouldn't have hated him. If brothers wouldn't have hated him, they wouldn't have sold him. But see, you don't understand God. We can sit there and do that all day about our life, but sometimes you just got to go to Egypt. Oh, Lord, have mercy. But Pastor, if I would have did this, then maybe this wouldn't. No, you had to go to Egypt. You see what I'm saying? Some things in God's overall purpose is bigger than what we may see set before us. Somebody really needs to hear this morning. Because God has a way of allowing us to go through things to get us to the place where he ultimately wants us to be, where he's going to use us. The place where he's going to reveal responsibility and accountability. And so the Bible is plain when it came to Joseph's brothers. Listen, it's no way to miss it. They hated him. They hated him for his dreams and his words. But listen, don't miss it. But his dreams and his words were from God. See, they were from God. It wasn't nothing Joseph was doing on his own. God was giving him these dreams. God was putting these words in Joseph, but his brothers hated him for it. But notice what Jesus reveals in Luke the 6th chapter. And let's look at verse number 22. Jesus said, blessed are you when men hate you, when they exclude you and revile you and cast out your name as evil for the Son of Man's sake. Rejoice in that day and leap for joy. For indeed your reward is great in heaven. For in like manner their fathers did to the prophets. Verse 22, blessed are you when men hate you. See, as good as God is, and God has always been good, and God will always be good. Now, who else has that testimony besides God? Nobody in here has that testimony, saving they want to be known as a big liar. Not just a liar, but a big liar. God, again, is the only one that has a testimony that's true, a testimony that's genuine, that he has always been good and he will always be good. See, we have our moments of being good. Come on. But we also have our moments where we are not so good as we need to be. Come on. You say, well, Pastor, you preaching the church folk. Yeah, even us as people of God, we don't have a testimony that we are always good. Sometimes bad is revealed in us that we might work on ourselves to become better. But see, when it comes to God, there's never a need for God to get better. Why? Because he is who he is, and he will be who he will be. But when you think about it, there are people who hate God. There are people who hate God, even though, again, he has always been good and he will always be good. Yet there are people who hate God. There are people who detest or despise God. There are some folks, if you really want to upset them, if you really want to get on, the old folk used to call somebody last nerve, when some folk just talk about God. Just talk about God. Just talk about the goodness of God. Just have the nerve to just say God is so good and he is just so wonderful, especially in the times that we living in right now. You liable to get some stares. You liable to get some rolling of your eyes at people, and they will say, how can he or she say God is good with everything that is taking place? Because I know that when it comes to God, he does not change. I recognize about God that he was good before the pandemic started. I recognize that he been good all in the midst of it. Come on, somebody. And when or if the pandemic leaves, he's still going to be good. God didn't look at no pandemic and say, this is bigger than me, I can't be good. No, God stepped up and protected his people, stepped up and prospered his people, because he told the prophet, tell my people that they're going to be better coming out of this than when they went in this. Oh, and you heard the testimony. God is doing what he said, but if you're not careful, folks will get upset with you for bragging on God. Do it on your job sometime. Just say the Lord is so good. And you're going to find out that everybody doesn't share your opinion. Come on, somebody. And guess what? We used to be some of those people. They got tired of certain folk talking about God. God can do this. God can do that. But see, what I want you to understand, if you're really of God, then the same way there are those who hate God, there will always be people who hate you because you serve God, because you are devoted to God, because you put God first. See, some folk don't even mind you serving God, but just don't go overboard. Don't go to don't act like you got to be at church every Sunday. Don't act like you got to pray every day. No, it don't take all. Y'all stay on your feet too much. Y'all sing too long. You're praising too. Your music is up too loud. But you didn't complain about loud music at the club. You only started complaining about loud music at the church. And of course, now that's not to say that we want the music to overdrown the singing of the praising of the word, because we don't. But what I want you to understand is that when you put God first, people will have a problem with you. I'm talking folk in your own family will have a problem with how sold out you are to God. And if you're listening real careful, they really only complain when you're about to do something for God. See, oh God, you have to watch people that when you tell them you've got to go, if you will, that extra mile to do this, that, and other for God, and they got a frown on their face, or they acting like, hey, look, you doing a little too much. Sit down here. You a little too busy in the church. The devil is a lie. When you know what God has brought you through, when you know there is a purpose on your life, you continue to put him first despite haters. Come on, I said despite haters. Despite haters. Now I'm about to move on. But even there were those who became even more of a hater towards the church, even for the church desiring to be open during the pandemic. Folk just began to really just hate on churches for wanting to be open. Like the nerve of y'all. Y'all ain't Best Buy. You ain't Walmart. Y'all ain't Longhorn. Y'all ain't the school. They said essential things. Only essential things need to open up. Well, I remind you that the most, come on, that's God's house. Come on, look, that's when some folks ain't standing. They may or may not be on board, but God's church is essential. And that will never change. But it's amazing when you put God first, how it brings out hatred in certain individuals. Am I right about that? Jesus here reveals plainly that he wanted his disciples to know, to understand that if you're going to follow me, if you're going to submit to me, if you're going to be my disciple, then you're going to be hated. You are going to be persecuted. You are going to be talked about sometime. You're going to be lied on sometime. You're going to be mistreated sometimes. Listen, all because for my name's sake. See, if one reason to be hated because you done some nasty, dirty stuff. Come on, we ain't talking about that. We talking about being hated for his name's sake. Are y'all with me? So that means Christians, true Christians, are destined to be hated. See, it's going to open up somebody's eyes. Because you got to come out of that fantasy world of wanting everybody to like you. Wanting everybody to love you. I seen a grown man on TV crying in tears. An NBA coach in tears. Crying, sobbing. Talking about why don't people love us? You got to get beyond crying over who don't love you. Because some folk are going to hate you. And if you don't come out of that dream, out of that fantasy world where you think everybody loves you, you're going to continue, watch this, to be disappointed by certain people. Because what they hate about you is what you stand for. Well, y'all with me? And see, understand this morning that you will be hated by several things that I want to mention. You're going to feel hatred. Y'all with me? Number one, you're going to feel hatred from the world. From those who do not practice righteousness, but practice sin or lawlessness. You're going to feel the hatred of the world. Because see, if any man is a friend of the world, he or she is an enemy to God. Why? Because the world hate God. Listen, by world, we ain't talking trees and so forth. We talking a system that is anti-God. A system that is anti-Christ. A system that is anti-Jesus. A system that is anti-Bible. And so you'll feel the hatred from the world. You'll feel it. You'll feel it. And listen to me, it needs to be felt. It needs to be felt to always remind us that this is not our home. Come on, come on. Old saints, you say, we just pilgrims who are just what? Passing through on our way to our final destination. Come on, but look at some saints. They are so in love with the world. And the world gonna love its own. Come on, that's what the Bible teaches. That if you love the world will love its own. But when you're in Christ, the way that you need to be, you'll feel the hatred from the world. You'll feel hatred, number two, from your own family. From your own family. Hatred. You can even be hated by folk in your family who understand about you that you truly strive to live right. Come on, but yet they hate you. You know what I'm saying? Can't stand you. Smile when they see you coming, but they have other thoughts that are going on. We'll come over to your house and pretend like they so happy to see all of this prosperity, but down on the inside, they hate that you have what you have, and you got the nerve to be smiling about it. Come on. I know in my family, in my immediate family, that there are people who hate me. They can't stand me. They do wrong by me every chance that they get. The only reason is because of my faith in Jesus. Listen to me. It used to bother me. You didn't hear me. It used to get to me. Come on. I said it used to bother me. It used to get next to me. It used to keep me up at night. I used to lose sleep about it. I used to wonder about, I used to search and see what I done, but I don't do that no more. I recognize that we own different sides. Are y'all feeling me? These folk, God will tell you to bless them and be good to them, but it will not change how they feel about you. You help them when nobody else helps, but that ain't gonna stop them from hating what you stand for.